Okay, third time is a charm. This is my third time trying to film this video. So if you are interested in laws and regulations, the law when it comes to homeschooling, just keep on watching. Hi friends, my name is Regina, Gina for short, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about rules and regulations, the law when it comes to homeschooling. I'm going to be talking about specifically Canada. I'm excited because this video is a collab with other homeschool moms here on YouTube. So there will be a playlist down below. Christina from The Rooted Homeschool and Kristen from My Cathedral Garden is hosting this collab. So basically how it's going to work is that each mom is going to be talking about the laws and rules and regulations in the state they live in or in the country they live in. So in America, you're probably gonna get different states there, and you're probably gonna get different countries as well. I'm talking about Canada specifically, and I do know that there is another mom who is going to be talking about New Zealand. So make sure to check out the playlist. Thank you, Christina and Kristen, for putting this collab together. I feel like this would benefit a lot of families out there. So if you like these types of videos, make sure to subscribe to my channel. On my channel, you'll find homeschooling content, of course, but also motherhood, lifestyle, a little bit of country living in there, and anything in between. So let's get into rules and regulations, the law when it comes to homeschooling in Canada. There is so much to talk about when it comes to rules and regulations in Canada, but I'm going to try to break it down to as simple as possible. I'm going to be focusing on where I live, specifically in Ontario, Canada. We have 13 provinces and territories altogether here in Canada, so it can take a very long time. For the purpose of this video, for it not to be too long, we're gonna shorten it down, give you the main points that you need to know, and there will be links down below to a website that you can go to and just click on your province, and you can get rules and regulations, forms that you might need to fill out, and so on and so forth. So in Canada, is it legal to homeschool in Canada? Yes, it is legal to homeschool in Canada, which is nice. But each province and territory has regulations. Some provinces are very lenient and other ones are not so lenient. So there is more steps that you need to take and rules that you have to follow to make sure that you are following the rules so you don't get in trouble. So it's very important that you do your research before you start homeschooling to make sure that you cross all your T's and dot all your I's and make sure that you are following the rules. Make sure to do your research. That's very important because rules and regulations can change, and I'm not sure when you're going to be watching this video. Things change always, so there are changes that can be made, so make sure to do your research. So let's talk about where I homeschool. I am from Canada, but more specifically, I am from Ontario. So here in Ontario, we are very fortunate that it's very lenient here. There is not too many rules and regulations when it comes to homeschooling. So what do you need to know if you are thinking about homeschooling in Ontario? So in Ontario, Canada, if you want to take your child out of the public school system and you want to homeschool your child, there is a letter of intent that you have to fill out. And I'm gonna link that down below, this letter of intent for Ontario, because each province and territory might have their own letter. So there is a letter that you have to fill out and you have to send to your school board if you're taking your child out of the public school system. That's very important, public school system, you hear that? So you fill out this letter of intent and you send it to the school board. You let your principal know, your teacher know, all that kind of stuff, and you can take your child out of the public school system. It doesn't matter if it's the beginning, middle of the year, end of the year, you can take your child out of the public school system and start homeschooling. After you sent that letter of intent, that is all you have to do. There is no, you don't have to submit any documents showing what you're gonna be doing, like a lesson plan, all that kind of stuff. You are free to do as you want to do. Once you send that letter of intent, because your child is in public school, you do have to send it every year to the board. So for me, my son was in private school. So what I had to do is I didn't have to send a letter of intent because my son was never part of the public school system. I let the principal know, the teacher know, and let them know that, you know what, I'm taking my kid out of the private school system, and I'm going to homeschool. And that was it. I took Nicholas out 2 months before he was going to end the school year, and I don't have to send a letter of intent to anyone because Nicholas was never part of the school system, like the public school system. I don't have to send a letter to anyone. I am free to do whatever I want to do, whatever style I want to do, whatever curriculum I want to do, and so on and so forth. So that's Ontario. Ontario is one of the most lenient provinces in Canada. Now let's get into the other provinces, territories. Okay, so now for the rest of the provinces. I'm gonna give you a brief overview of each of the province, and then you do have to do your research and just look more into it, okay? But I'm gonna give you a little brief overview because I don't want this video to be very long. So in Alberta, you do have to notify the school board that you want to homeschool, and there is a letter that you have to send, and you can get that down in the description below. You can click on each of the provinces, and if you click on Alberta, you will find all the forms that you need, all that kind of stuff. So everything is down in the description. For Alberta, you can either choose home education or you can choose distance education. Home education is that the parent or guardian is fully responsible for the education of the child, but you do have to submit some type of plan to the board wherever you register, and there will be someone that will be in touch with you. So you do have to submit some type of plan. Now, if you go into distance education, it's basically school at home. So very similar, I'm thinking, to virtual school in a way, and where the parent is almost like the assistant, and you do have a teacher that's going to be giving your child, you know, the schoolwork and all that kind of stuff. So make sure to do your research to see how that works out, but you can choose between the two. So even if you do end up just deciding to homeschool your child, there is a check-in with coordinators, and there is resources available for parents. So there does seem to have some type of educational resources that they do give parents when you're homeschooling your kids. So that is an overview of Alberta. Now let's get into British Columbia, BC, as we call it here. So for BC, you just have to simply register your child with the government. And this just means that you inform the government through your public school or your private school that you intend to homeschool your kids. And then you have the option to choose whatever curriculum you want. You do not have to use the curriculum from British Columbia. You do have the freedom to choose what curriculum that you do want. The principal does register your child if the parent or guardian does want to homeschool their kids. And the principal will offer free of charge when it comes to the public school system. You can choose to do assessments and evaluations with your kids. So they do offer that through the school board, and a loan for any educational resources that you might need. But the parent or guardian, they can decide if they don't want any help, if they don't want any evaluations, any assessment. It's almost like it's there if you need it, and if you don't want to take it, you don't have to take it. The school doesn't have any authority to supervise and tell you what to do. It basically, you do have free range to do whatever you want to do in your homeschool space. If you want the help, it's there. If you don't want the help, you don't need to take the help. If you end up going with a private school instead of a public school system, there might be a fee involved for you to register with a private school. Now, I'm not sure why you would register with a private school. Maybe there's more benefits when it comes to registering with a private school opposed to a private school. I don't know, but definitely do your research on that. But that's basically the breakdown when it comes to British Columbia. Now let's get into Manitoba. In Manitoba, obviously, it's legal to homeschool your kids, and the parent also has to advise the board that they are wanting to homeschool. They also have to provide a program outline each year, letting the homeschooling office know what is the plan for that year and what they're going to be learning. And you're supposed to submit progress reports in January and June. And definitely there's going to be more information on the website to let you know what those progress reports have to look like. And it's interesting. Manitoba is very interesting. The parents can actually designate someone else to homeschool your kids. So that's pretty interesting, because I believe here in Ontario, the parent or guardian has to be the one that's supposed to be, responsible for your child's education. So that's really interesting to me in Manitoba. I thought that was kind of interesting. There is no funding available in Manitoba when it comes to homeschooling. And same thing, I forgot to mention, in Ontario, we don't have any funding when it comes to homeschooling. So there is no funds available, and same thing with Manitoba. Some school boards do allow homeschool kids some educational resources or take extra courses. So you just have to look into that school board and do your research. So let's get into New Brunswick. So for New Brunswick, there's a form called the annual homeschooling application form. So I'm just reading here from my notes because I did get a lot of notes from online. I'm actually learning a lot. There is so many different rules and regulations when it comes to Canada that I am blown away. So there's an annual homeschooling application form each year that you have to submit to the school district office. Like each year you have to send this letter, regardless if your child was part of the school system or not, you have to do this. And it does ask for you to keep record of what you've been doing with your child, just in case anyone does ask you, or you know, you want to put your child back in public school, you have that portfolio, they call it. So make sure to keep records. You do have to keep some type of record because they do advise you to do that. Here in Ontario, they don't ask you to do that. You could just do whatever you want. I think if I had to put my child in the public school system right now, like they would probably do maybe a test with him, but I think it would be okay because I remember when I was studying in Brazil, I actually studied in Brazil before, and I came back here to Canada. I did grade 1 in Brazil and I came back for grade 2 and I just went into grade 2. There was no testing that needed to be done and they just put me into grade 2. Let's go into Newfoundland and Labrador. So there is a letter that you have to send to the director, and this director will approve your plan or not. So I guess there's most likely there is a lot of information online. Go online and they will tell you what you need to submit, what they're looking for, and the director will actually approve this plan. So someone has to approve it and make sure that it's okay that you go on with homeschooling. The director will also approve the education plan as well. So there's a lot of planning involved here. So it's very interesting because here in Ontario, there's no planning. Like I haven't planned anything. I'm a go with the flow kind of mom. So this would be kind of different for me, you know? So yeah, whoa, like these provinces, they're not joking around. You have to do some, you know, you have to do planning. If you do use the provincial curriculum, it says here, the parents will receive teaching resources. So if you want to use the provincial curriculum, you will receive that for free. But if you want to use your own, I guess you can use it your own, but the director has to approve it. Interesting. And it does say here that the child does have to complete assessments in various times as required by the director. So there is assessments that do have to be done, and it's up to the director when these assessments are done. Let's go into the Northwest Territories. Same thing, you need to register your child with the school board. It does state here that, you know, there is monitoring involved, but it's up to the parents. The parents have the full responsibility of educating the child and carrying out the education plan. But it says here, this is very interesting. I'm gonna read it because this is interesting. It says here that it's not the responsibility of the superintendent to make sure that the curriculum meets the curriculum standards or to evaluate the way the homeschooling program is carried out, but it's to ensure that student is making progress in the program and support the homeschooling program whenever possible as agreed upon the parent. So it seems here they're pretty lenient. It's more like you register, there's someone there if you need the support, but you can do things on your own. That's what I understood from it. It seems very lenient, seems very like Ontario in a way, but you have that support if you want it. Interesting. So it's a bit different, but the same. It's more lenient. I think this is one more of the lenient provinces, which is nice. So the next province is Nova Scotia. So same thing. There's this type of registration form that you need to fill out and send to the board or wherever. They'll tell you where you have to send it to. So there is a form that you do have to complete each year, and there is a report that you need to submit to the Department of Education and Early Childhood Development. So there is a report that you need to send out to this place, which if you go down below, like I said, on the website, it'll tell you all this information, where you need to send this, the forms, all that kind of stuff. And you have to submit this report in June. You should keep like evidence of your child's education. So maybe like a portfolio, some type of evidence that your child, what they're learning, and all that kind of stuff, just in case you do want to put them back into the public school, that you have that, or maybe they want to, you know, go into high school, that kind of stuff. It's important for you to keep some type of portfolio based on what I see online. Next province and territory is Nunavut. Nunavut actually follows the Alberta education program. So basically what I said about Alberta, you have to do in Nunavut. So that's how it works in Nunavut. Interesting. So Prince Edward Island, PEI, we call it PEI here. So same thing, parents, if they're interested in homeschooling their child, there is a letter of intent that you send to the home education program, they call it. And they just ask you to keep a record of your child's education and a portfolio of your child's work. Let's go to Quebec. Here in Canada, we have a province named Quebec. Quebec, even though our second language here in Canada is French, in Quebec, if you go to Quebec, most people speak French. Like, it's more French than English. So when you go visit Quebec, people start speaking French to you. And it's funny because my French is not so good, but it's always fun visiting Quebec. But they are more of the, I would say, stricter, not so lenient regulations when it comes to homeschooling. There's quite a lot of stuff, actually. They're definitely up there. Quebec. Pourquoi? I don't know. Pourquoi? Is that? Told you, my French is not good. Anyways, so recently they changed the wording in the laws, and before it used to say that you were to make sure that the student receives an educational experience that is equivalent to what is provided at school. They used to say this before, but now it says the student who receives appropriate homeschooling. Wording is now a student who receives appropriate homeschooling. So they changed it to not equivalent. Like, you don't have to mimic maybe the school system. It receives appropriate homeschooling. So it's a very positive change for the homeschooling community, it says here, because I think that it was a bit strict on, how the homeschooling had to be. I'm not sure. If you're from Quebec, let us know down below if anyone from Quebec is watching. So the same thing, the parent has to provide a written notice to their intent to homeschool to the school board or the jurisdiction that your child is in. And it says here, refusal to do that, it can get a social services involved. And I think that's in any case. Like, if someone, says that you're mistreating your child, or if you're not giving your child the proper education, they can look into it, right? So they do actually warn that here, though, like on the website. On the other provinces and territories, I didn't see anything like that yet. But obviously it's common sense if you're mistreating your child, there is actual, people talking about when social services did get involved, just because maybe a school board didn't want you to homeschool your kids, or maybe a friend or family, a doctor's office, that kind of stuff. That could happen, but don't be so scared of that, because if you're homeschooling and you're following the rules, there's nothing for you to be scared of. But it is intimidating, of course. It says here, the parents must submit and implement a learning project to educate, socialize, and to qualify the child through the development of basic skills, including literacy, numeracy, and problem solving, and the French language. So it has to be submitted to the minister. It's part of the learning plan that you're going to be submitting. The parents must comply with any other conditions or procedures determined by the government. So if they want more details on the learning project, you have to give it to them. There is a list of things that you have to give to them, and you have to make sure that you are crossing your T's and dotting your I's. It seems like they're pretty, on top of you. It even says here that there's an annual evaluation. So I think that they're trying to get standardized testing for the annual evaluation, but I don't know if that's still implemented. That's weird. It's saying here that they're kind of working on it or something like that. Yeah, but they seem very rigid a little bit. Like, it's more strict. It's definitely more strict. It talks about even attendance. That's different. Wow. Quebec does not play around when it comes to homeschooling. I believe that you also have to submit like a plan for the child, like what you're going to be teaching them and all that kind of stuff. So let's get into Saskatchewan. So same thing, Saskatchewan, you have to submit a letter to the board, submit your written educational plan, and you have the choice of it being 100% home-based, or you can cross-enroll with a local public school for certain courses. So you have the option of like dual enrollment, and then there's an achievement testing. So whatever that means in an achievement testing, probably some type of test that the child has to take. So that is for Saskatchewan. And there's actually, it says here that if you're doing home education, which is homeschooling, it's coordinated through the Aurora virtual school. So you probably have to set up something with this virtual school, and it sets up the home educational program. So it helps you choose educational resources, cross-enrolling with local public schools, and contacting your local school for participation in school activities, sports, events, and on sports teams. So the homeschool child can definitely take advantage of, some type of socialization when it comes to with the public school system. There does seem to be some type of support, much more steps that you have to take in the sense of showing that you're educating your child and all that good stuff. So that concludes this video, guys. This is the provinces and territories in Canada. Hopefully this wasn't too boring. If you want to go back to a certain part of the video, I'll have timestamps, of course, down below. Let me know if you are tuning in from Canada. Which province and territory are you from? Did I miss anything? I probably did. The only one I'm very specialized in is in Ontario, because that's where I live. And yeah, so make sure to check out the playlist down below with the other homeschool moms. Make sure to check out Christina from Rooted Homeschool and Kristen from My Cathedral Garden, and make sure to subscribe to their channel. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope that it was helpful in some shape, way, or form. And make sure to subscribe to my channel, because I am trying to post weekly here. Follow me over on Instagram. I'm pretty active there. And make sure to like this video. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next one.